All right, cool. All right. Welcome, everybody. It's me, the Meister, your favorite drinking buddy, metalhead drinking buddy from Brews and Tunes. I am here tonight with the one and only Tony Demolition Man Dolan from Venom Inc. Very excited to be chatting with you. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Brews and Tunes, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, does it? It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
It's like a cake frenzy with good stuff, yeah. Right. There I am. I'm with you. All right. Mine's, just wine, but not brew, not a brew, but close enough.
Yeah, close enough. Definitely cool.
I did one. We did an interview with the three of us yesterday on a Zoom meeting, and I had kind of half a bottle of Jack before we started. And between myself and Jeff, I think we talked to each other for about 2 hours. I think so it was like, oh shit, okay, don't drink too much this time.
Right. I've done that myself.
Yeah, it's the best way. It's the best way. With good music and some nice alcohol and some friends, it's the best way to enjoy this situation we've got at the minute, But thank you so much for having me here. It's like, what's kind of cool about doing these things as well is, because of COVID, the lockdown, I mean, we're kind of socially distanced, I think, me and you, so I don't have to wear. Yeah. Nice. I get to leave the house and we get to travel to each other, so that's what's cool about it.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you for doing this. Well, why don't we start? There's so many questions I want to ask you, but why don't we start with this amazing album that came out in?
I recognize that album.
Yeah. Came out in 2017. Fantastic album. I can't stop listening to it. Kicks ass. I'm sorry, what?
I said thank you so much.
Oh, right. Sorry, my audio just cut out a little bit. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about how that album came to be. What was the impetus of all of that? How did you guys get together? And what was the recording like? And I know I'm asking a lot of questions here, but yeah, maybe just kind of talk a little bit about the album.
That's perfect. I mean, I did. The thing is, I had a band called Atomkraft, and in the late 80s, around about 88, I found an opportunity where we'd finished a big tour. We were kind of tired, and we kind of were breaking up, I guess, in a way. We'd had an amazing journey, and played with great bands. We played Slayer's first show in London, and we toured with Nuclear Assault, Nasty Savage, Exodus, Venom, of course. And Venom were like our label mates, but also my friends. So I'd kind of grown up with them around all the time since we were all just young teenagers. And so, I'd always had an association, and my band kind of came to an end. And it's just happened to be at the same time that Kronos had decided to go solo and move to America. I think his intention was to stay there and have a solo career, but he had a 6-month visa, so he capitalized on that. And he took the band after Calm Before the Storm. I think he felt, people felt that wasn't quite Venom the way it had been. And I think he felt that too, so he felt that he was more going in a solo direction. And so he wanted to do that. And the drummer Abaddon was left behind, and of course the manager Eric Cook, who sadly has passed now, but at the time they called me and wanted to have a discussion, and they were kind of managing my band as well because we were both on Neat Records, and their manager's brother was then my drummer from the albums that I'd done with Atomkraft. And so we met in a pub, and they had a bit of a chat, and they told me what was going on, and I ended up in Venom. Anyway, that's the top and the bottom of it. And we did several albums. I went through to about 92. I got Mantas back into the band because I thought, I wanted to have him there and, play shows with him and record. And it was great. It was really good fun. But I think into the 90s, metal, certainly as a scene, was kind of dying on its feet, really. Because we had the grunge wave in America, of course, and we had Britpop in the UK, so metal wasn't really the thing at the time. And so I kind of thought, you know, it's time to move on and just do something else. So I, you know, I did what became my day job, my acting, and I became an engineer and worked in technical theatre, hydraulics and stuff. I became a specialist in that. And then I got a call from Mantas, who was doing a solo album in the late 90s, probably after they'd reformed. Kronos came back and they had a brief spell where they reformed and did a couple of albums, and then they broke up again. And then Mantas called me and he was doing a solo album. I think it was early 2000s. And he wanted me to put bass on it. So I went up to Newcastle and I put bass on his album. And we did a couple of shows, but it wasn't really intentional for me to stay with the band. It was just to help him and get it all moving.
Right.
And I ended up doing a few releases of some old Atomkraft stuff, but I wasn't really doing music. I was kind of happy with my day job. I did some movies and some TV, and then worked a lot in theatre as a technician. And then I think it was kind of somewhere in the noughties, I got a call from Jeff again, Mantas again, who was doing his solo band, and he played a show with Anton. And Anton is the brother of Kronos, and he had been in Venom and done a couple of albums, I think Hell, Metal Black, and then had left. He did Resurrection with Mantas and Kronos, and then he'd left. But he was helping Jeff out and did a couple of shows. Jeff then said, you know, they played a show, they played black metal, and people were going, hang on, you got Anton, you got Mantas, why don't you get the Demolition Man? That might be pretty cool. You guys never played together. It's another alternative Venom universe, which is what I love about the whole thing, because the characters are all there and the music's all there, and it, you know, you have this cornucopia of people who can play it. Yeah. And so I said, well, okay, you know, I haven't really considered doing the music again, but I said, if we do the music this time, you can't put your guitar under the bed this time. You have to go all the way. This is like, we go to the very end, because I don't want to do it for 2 or 3 years, put all that time and effort in for then us to get bored with it. So if we do it for the rest of our lives. And we agreed, okay, let's do it. And then we kind of formed a band, which some people didn't mind the name and other people hated it, but it was called M-pire of Evil. And basically it was an anagram of Primeval, because they wanted to call it Primeval. I knew a band out in New York called Primeval. They had kind of put their tools down, but then they kind of got really pissed because, you know, we were going to take their part of history away. So the boys were like, fuck them, I don't care, we've got every right to do it. And I just thought, you know, everybody deserves their place. So I just sat one night and I come up with the anagram of using the same letters, and we became M-pire of Evil. Like I say, some people loved it, some people hated it, but we went out as that, and we toured everywhere. I mean, China, Russia, you name it, we went everywhere. And for about 3 or 4 solid years, we recorded an album, an EP, a single. We recorded a second album, then a live album, and we were just doing. I was doing everything. So, doing the licenses, producing the material. Mantas was mixing and mastering. So he was doing his production stuff, and we just had a ball, and there was no middleman. We didn't have a label we owed anything to. We didn't have any investors we had to make money for. The publishing was ours, the sales were ours, the shows were ours. The money went directly to us, so I could negotiate whatever fees if the budget called for it. And I just said, look, I just want to play music. So we played everywhere, from big festivals to small pubs, from here to Guadalupe, and it was the most amazing time. And then we were setting up to record the newest album, which we were going to call Unleashed. So we had all the drums recorded, all the guitars recorded, all the bass done. We were just going to start looking at vocals. And then I got an offer to play a retro festival in Newcastle by some guys who were doing like a new wave of a British heavy metal show. And the guy got in touch with me, Stuart, and said, look, you know, we're doing this show. Do you think you might come and play as Atomkraft? Because we were from Newcastle and we'd never played really. I mean, I think we played briefly once we had an album out, you know. but we'd never done a show for so long. And I said, well, look, you know, getting the original band back is not going to happen. And even the other version of the band, I don't think I can get those people together. So, but I do have a guy I use in Gamma Bomb, Paul Caffrey, a young drummer who's brilliant. He'll do it. And a guitarist who's now with Artillery Crane, Meyer, out of Denmark, who's a very good friend. And I'm sure they would, because I'd played one show with James Riviera and Hellstar as Atomkraft, and I'd used those guys and another guy, Rich, who's a DJ, but fantastic guitarist, Rich Davenport. And so we played a show, one-off thing. So I said, oh, I could call the guys. So I did. We ended up playing the show. It was our hometown, although I live in London now, but I went home. Mantas lived up there. We did all our recording there. So he was at the show, and we got towards the end of the rehearsal, and I started playing Pour the Metal In, and he said, oh, I always loved this song. And I said, well, why don't you fucking just come on stage and play it with me tonight? And he was like, you think? And I was like, yeah, why don't you play it too? Play it too. So he said, oh, I'd love to play Heat and Pain and Pour the Metal In. So that's what we did. So we played the show. It was like rammed in there. It was a fantastic show. And he came on, I announced him, and he came on and joined me at the end. And that was kind of it. You know, I went away. It was fun. And then I got contacted by a guy called Oliver Weishaupt. And he ran a festival called Keep It True in southern Germany. And he said, Tony, yeah, I just wanted to get in touch. You know, I was at the show. You did the Atomkraft album in its entirety, Future Warriors. It was amazing to see. I never thought I'd ever see that. Yeah. I've got this festival in Germany, and it's just for metalheads, for retro fans. And I try and find bands that people may have missed in the day. He said, anyway, you got Mantas on stage, and I wondered if you knew that Abaddon was standing in the audience. And I said, oh, no, I didn't, but I knew he was there. But but Jeff and him weren't talking, so I thought, I don't want to get this whole thing in one room. It could go really wrong. So I'd ignored the fact. Anyway, Oliver said, you know, I wondered if, you know, if I booked M-pire of Evil to come and play my festival, and Abaddon just happened to be there, what's the chances like he could come on stage and he could play some Venom classics, maybe 5, just for 2,000 hardcore fans as a surprise? It would be pretty cool. Okay. And initially my reaction was, it's never going to happen. No, I could never. But he convinced me that if anybody could make it happen, I could. So I set about making it happen. I called Abaddon. He said yes straight away. Mantas didn't say yes straight away, so it took me a few more days to convince him that, look, we're not forming a band. We're just gonna go play our show. At the end of our show, we'll do another intro tape. Abaddon will come on. We'll play 5 Venom classics. We can pick what they are from any period, just fan favorites, you know, Countess Battery or something, and that's it. We go home, and so that was the idea. We just come off a Russian tour. Jeff was a bit sick, but however, we went straight to the festival. Abaddon flew in. We hadn't seen him in 20-odd years. Yeah. And we all just met at the hotel. We already knew which songs we were going to do, so we didn't rehearse. We just played our set. The lights went out. The intro started. Abaddon came on. Everybody went nuts, and we played 5 Venom songs. And that was it. We were going home. Good job. It was a bit of fun. I even had T-shirts made. Oh, man. And we decided to call it Venom Iron and Steel, you know, just to give to fans of the band. And then there was a big thing over the Venom, you know, because you're not Kronos and he's out with Venom. And it was like, oh, I don't know. And then an agent, a friend of mine from Holland, convinced me that I had to use the name for it. And I should, and Abaddon wanted to use the original logo because I guess he was still in conflict with Kronos. And so I was like, okay. So I said, well, look, you know, Venom isn't the only thing we did. We've got all this other music we do. So why don't we call it Incorporated? Venom Incorporated as meaning in everything we do, not as a business venture, but Venom incorporates all of, and it's a huge part of all of us. So that's what we did. So very soon when the print came back, the guy had sent the first print design and said, look, Incorporated is far too long. So I've just abbreviated to Inc, like limited. And I was like, okay. So the shirt said Venom Inc. Iron and Steel, and that was it. Like, people just started calling us Venom Inc. And after that show, instead of us just going home back to our normal lives and whatever else we were doing, I started getting emails from it had gone up onto the internet, and I had offers of tours for Japan, China, Australia, South America. People were going, "Oh my God, we didn't realize you guys were back." And it's like, we're not back. We're not back. It was just a bit of fun. And I thought, okay. So I went for breakfast and I said to the two guys, "Look, I know we were just doing this as a one-off, but this is what's happening. What do you think? Should we give it like 18 months? Just tour, just play classic Venom songs, start at the beginning and work our way through the whole catalogue. So we play something off Welcome to Hell, something off Black Metal, something off A War with Satan, something off Possessed, something off Primeval, Temples of Ice." But, you know, we just take the whole journey and play bits of songs, and we can, if we do it in a two-year period, we can play songs off every album, just for the fact we let them pick the songs if they want, and so nobody can say, "Oh, we're trying to cash in." They pick the songs, we just go and play them for them. And so we agreed that was how it was going to be. But about 15 months later, the thing was getting like big. I mean, we were getting serious offers and serious tour offers and agents and management, and it was, I was handling all the diagnostics and the administration and stuff, and it was getting a bit bigger than what I was used to. So I called John Zazula, who used to be Megaforce. He signed Metallica and did the big deal for Anthrax and Overkill, and he'd retired and moved to Florida. But he was also the first person to take Venom to America. He put them in America for the first time with Metallica as support. I mean,
nice. Wow, what a show that would have been.
I know, amazing. So anyway, I just called John and I went, "John, I know you're retired and you don't, but I need help. You have to help me." And he was like, "No, I'm not," you know. And initially he decided he'd just be my guru to go to, so I could go, "John, what the fuck am I supposed to do?" And he'd tell me. But then he just got excited by the whole thing. And so he came on board as part of the management with Chuck Billy from Testament, who was part of his management team, and Maria Ferreira, who was our PR. And, you know, I think the next couple of months, we did America. Chuck was with us. We did a Danzig show. He had kindly invited us to do his festival in California, Blackest of the Black, with Devil Driver and Ministry and everything, which was amazing. And it felt like something different was happening. It wasn't like the old days. Something else was going on. And we were getting lots of respect, and people seemed really glad we were there, and seemed to be really responding to what we were doing so well. And then Johnny just called me up and said, "I need music. We got to get a record." And I said, "No, I don't want to do that," because when you then go in to start recording, it seems like everybody's great. We're all having a great time. You're all great friends. But the minute you start to go into recording, there's arguments over who wrote what song. Everybody wants to get some publishing money because you get a publishing advance. And I just thought, this is Venom. That's where it always went wrong. As soon as money was involved, that's where the fighting all started. And I didn't want any politics because I'm too fucking old for it. You know, I just want to play music. I just want to have my fun. And that's it. I want to meet fans, play shows, have fun. And if we do this seriously, then we owe the label, then we've got to do press, then it's like, it's just all that serious shit. And then it's counting pennies and making sure everybody's got this or that. So I thought, oh, fucking hell. So I resisted. And John just kept going on and on. So, okay. So I talked to Jeff. We pulled out 3 songs. We gave him the 3 songs and said, okay, well, this is what we got. This is kind of where we sound like. And he went, I love it. Okay, who do we go to? And I thought, oh, well, shit, there's a lot of labels I love, like SPV, Ollie Han. He's one of my favorite people on the planet. Of course, Brian Slagle, Metal Blade, you know, BMG, Universe, I mean, Century Media. So there was lots I was excited about. Napalm. But I just thought, you know, one of the labels I'd had an association with because it was made by musicians. And one of the guys there, Wagemaker, is one of my oldest and most trusted friends, because he's always been very honest with me musically. You know, if he didn't like it, he'd go, "I don't like it, shit." I go, "Okay, that's fair enough." You know, but if he did like it, go, yes, even when he gets excited, he goes, "Yes, it's good." And that's so I'm like, right. So I said, well, if I don't want to go to a load of labels, I don't want to get disappointed. I don't want people commenting on what we should do, how we are, what it sounds like. So give it to Nuclear Blast. If they say no, that's it. We just carry on and play live shows. Well, I don't care about recording. So it's up to them. And so he sent the demo to them. 2 days later, they said, "We want the album." And that was it. We were, oh shit, now we're going to make an album. The way the process had worked is, because I was then focusing on the business so much, I said to Jeff, "You just start writing. And when you get stuck, tell me and I'll give you some material." But in a very short period of time, he was just writing frantically, and everything he sent through, I loved everything. I was like, "Oh my God, yeah, absolutely, absolutely." And we got to about 20 songs. And at one point during the process, he said to me, "Oh, am I going in the right direction?" And I was like, "What direction?" I said, "You're Mantas. You were Mantas. You are Mantas. You will be Mantas. All you got to do is write like Mantas and play like Mantas." I said, "Who cares? We are who we are." And so we didn't, you know, try and be old school. We didn't try and be new school. We didn't try and fit into anything. We just wrote songs how we were, and that was it. And yeah, when he was writing, he would lay the guitars down, he would put tempo down, and he would put a kit on it, so that when I got it, I had guitar, I had drum kit, so I would just then put my bass in and think about the vocal spacing. And then he sent that to Abaddon too, with the idea that he would, you know, take those drums, record his way, and then we would have him on. But it became quite clear that after the first set of drums that Abaddon returned to Jeff, I still have never heard them, but he said they were just abysmal. And not just the recording, but he just didn't get it at all. And he sent those tracks to the management and to the label, who thought we were kidding. And they were, "Well, you can't put that on there." And we're like, is this, you know, they thought we were kidding. And we ended up having to use the kit that we created, bring an engineer in, a friend of ours from Germany, who's a drum specialist who just worked on the drums. So we didn't actually get to have Abaddon performing on the album, which was a shame and became a big sore point, of course. But we realized that when we then went out on tour, whereas we had been playing for all those years, Abaddon hadn't. So he was still kind of where he was back then, which was fine. When we played the old songs, they still had that looseness and that anger and the messiness. But when we tried to play the new stuff, where Jeff wanted it a bit more precise, he just couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. So we did a few tours, tried to put the new songs in several times, and every time they came in, they were just not like the album, and that was getting Jeff really angry all the time. And I just thought, this is not going to go so well. And of course, Abaddon thought it was fine. He didn't see the problem, but I could see this was going to crash us. And I didn't want that. I just wanted to have the fun. So I was like, I knew this was going to fucking happen when we did an album. So we were on tour in America, and it was brought to my attention there was a couple of deals had been made on our behalf without my acknowledgement or without my consent, and there was a contract offered without me involved, and that was kind of like the final straw for me, because in my years with Venom and in Atomkraft before, you know, they'd been torturously ripping me off. I never got one penny ever paid to me from anything while I was in Venom, not for touring, not for the albums, not for all the songs I wrote, nothing.
Really?
It was all misadministered on my behalf. And I just thought, I'm not excuse me, I'm not having that again, because my principle is there's three of us. It's one for you, one for me, and one for him. That's it. And we go 1, 1, 1 until there's no ones left. It isn't 1 for you, 2 for me, 3 for him, 1 for me, 5 for you. It's, you know, it's not how I am. And so I wanted it nice and clean, and it wasn't getting that way. And then I didn't like the double dealing. So it was like, you know, Jeff doesn't think the performance is up. The management and the label don't think the live performance is up. And now there's this, you know, attempted embezzlement again, you know, at these double deals. I thought, now I just can't have it again. You know, I had all this shit with Venom, so fuck it. So that was it. He was gone. And Chuck Billy had suggested a guy we used for sound, who did Exodus sound and Sepultura, but also was a drummer. And he said, you know, he's a really good drummer. So I gave him 3 or 4 tracks. I gave him the album, and I said, look, there's 3 or 4 of those songs. If you could learn those 3 or 4, then we'll see how we get on. And we met him in Chicago, and he had every single song, played it like the album. We went, okay, you're in. That was it. We got a tour, and we haven't got Abaddon because he's having a baby. Well, he wasn't having a baby. His new wife was, but I thought, he can't come on tour, and they've told us we've got to do the tour, so we need a drummer, so you can come in. And the intention was, even at that stage, was, you know, just come in and play the shows for us, because Abaddon will be coming back somehow. You know, we might be arguing, but he will come back. And he never came back. And that was it. It was like, okay. And that was the story of Harvey. Was it good? Did you like it?
That was fantastic. That was it.
Even I liked it. You know, Vic, I didn't even know half of that myself. It was really interesting.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Wow.
Sorry if I bored. Sorry if I bored anyone.
No, not at all. That was fascinating. That was really interesting. So, I guess the next question would be, especially in this crazy COVID world that we're in, what are you guys doing now? Is there a follow-up album in the works? Have you guys been working and writing?
We did think about that, because at the end of last year, which seems like another life and planet ago, we did festival season, and we knew we had Wacken was the last festival of the year that we were doing. So we played Wacken, and then for maybe 20 odd years, I've been suffering with a broken hip. And because of the touring and because of my work, I kept delaying having an operation, probably because I was a bit worried about it too, about my age and having a new hip. I mean, what if I can't walk? And but eventually I conceded and thought, right, okay, what we'll do is we'll finish the season of Wacken, then I'll have my operation for a new hip, and then while I'm recuperating between September and January, or October and January, we'll just write and work on the new album. So that was what we started doing. And then fucking the plague hit the world. So we kind of been locked down. So I said, well, we have a choice. We can either continue doing the album, or Jeff always wanted to be a cat juggler because he loves cats and he collects cats, like stray cats. Oh. So I said, seeing as you're locked down, you could be a cat juggler. Use this opportunity not to do music anymore, just juggle cats. And Jeremy likes to lick paint. So he goes around to people's houses, particularly car paint. So he will like come to your house. If you've got a nice car, he'll go out and he likes to lick the paint on the car. So I said, you could do that during lockdown if you didn't want to drum anymore. And then I was thinking, well, I don't know, maybe I'll find something I can do, like make ice cream or something, you know, just in my house, you know, just then eat it. So that was what I was going to suggest, but then everybody went, fuck it. So we started to do the new album. And I just thought, well, we were going to put it out early this year, because initially they were like, oh, 6 weeks. And then, you know, we locked everybody down, and 6 weeks later, and then it was like 3 months later, and then it was through the summer, and then it's like maybe through the winter, maybe 2021, maybe 20. It's like, fuck. Yeah. So I just thought, well, we recorded all the drums, all the guitar stuff. So we've got like, you know, 20 odd songs all recorded, apart from vocals. So we're just down to the vocals now. And because of the lockdown restrictions, Mr. Kling, the War Machine, he lives in Florida. Mantas lives in Portugal, and I live in London. So with the restrictions of traveling, it was like, fuck, we can't even get together. So we kind of did it remotely. We all have access to our own little studios. So we all did our studio bits, sent them over to Mantas, who put them all together. And the intention is to go and finish off the vocals there, then master and mix, and it's ready to go. But every time I've planned to go to Portugal, they've friggin' locked us down again, or they've locked him down again. And it's like, oh my God. Right. So that's where we are at the minute. We've just got vocals to do. And these days when you deliver, because when we deliver to Nuclear Blast, we need a 3-month run-up because they have digital distribution to do and promoting and that. So they need at least 3 months before release. So I guess I thought there's no point in trying to throw the album together as fast as we can to get it out in 2020 when we can't play any shows. And then we're just relying on internet. And we're very much a live band. And the new album, I think it's even better than RV in it, but it sounds furious. It sounds like it's got all the energy of us live. And so I want to be able to go and play it as soon as we've dropped the album. And if that's going to be 2021, then that's how it is, you know. I think the first thing we have is May, a big festival in Brazil, Armageddon Festival in Brazil. So we're headlining that. So I thought, okay, well, that's the first show of 2021. So that's how long we've got. As long as we deliver November, December, then that's 3 months to release. So when it'll be able to release, fingers crossed, we'll be kind of out of lockdown and we'll be able to at least travel and start to play shows so we can play the new material. So that's the intention now. The intention was to get it out in 2020, but, you know, COVID, so what's the point? What's the point, you know? Yeah.
I would imagine it's been frustrating and
yeah, you know, it has, Victor, and you know, as a performer, I guess it is a bit, but you know, you use what you've got. I mean, look here, we're still doing Zoom, you know, and so you use what's at your table, you know. We've still carried on doing the album, even though we're not actually together. We've still been writing and meeting and listening to the stuff and perfecting it. And I'm just wrapping up now an album that we did with some Italian artists. I did a Sabbath song, Hole in the Sky. Just they contacted me, would you put bass on this? And I was like, yeah. So we did it for some fun, and they put it out. And then I said, yeah, we should do some more. That was kind of fun. And so we have. And now I'm just wrapping up the album now. I've got like 3 more solos to get down on there. But I've got the most amazing guests on there. Vocalists, drummers, guitarists. I mean, a very well-known guitarist dropped a solo on me yesterday for Symptom of the Universe. And I was like, oh my God, it sounds fucking amazing. So, you know.
You to tell us who they are?
Well, I'm not going to just yet. I'm trying to keep it on the low down. I know, but it's exciting. It's exciting. But the whole idea is the album will be just for the frontline workers in Italy because they were hit so hard at first, and that was the intention. So it'll go to a charity to help, you know, people who may have lost their grandmother or whatever, and because they haven't been working. So all the money will go to them. So each artist has given their time. But, I mean, it goes people from Megadeth through Merciful Fate through Venom, you name it. I mean, it's amazing. It's fucking amazing. And I'm so lucky that they're on there. But that's like a thing, you know. Jeremy has several bands. He's just kept doing music. Mantas are doing blues stuff and writing his book. So we've just been, you know, using our creativity in different ways and utilizing the internet to do it. We did a festival, Bloodstock Festival we played a couple of years ago. They very kindly asked us to play. And then in 2020, during lockdown, about 15 festivals in Europe came together and said, we're going to do an online festival season because we can't have festivals. And so Bloodstock asked us, would we be part of it? And I just said yes. And then I panicked and thought, fucking hell, we don't even live in the same country. How are we going to do this? So I had to call the guys and I went, guys, I need you to go out and buy these green screen, buy your lights, make sure you do this. And then they did. We shot ourselves individually against green screen, playing our songs live. And then I edited it all together. And and then I had a friend help me editing with the effects and stuff, and then sent it to Nuclear Blast, and Tiny Nuclear Blast polished it all off, and we delivered that, and we played the festival. Right. And it was like amazing. Yeah, it was amazing to do. A learning curve, you know, but you know, so even in time of lockdown, you know, you could still witness. I mean, Wacken Festival, I don't know if you saw it, but Wacken did it. Well, they did their online festival, and I swear to God,
I did see some of it. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it was like being there. It was just like being there. It was like it was amazing. And so, you know, I think very much like, you know, like what's going to happen with this, you know, this resolution to the plague. You know, they're going to give us a viral antidote. But what they're going to do is, because they've had such an intense space of time, and all of these medics working on these viral things and how to solve this, they're going to find some kind of cure for a kind of cancer along the way. You know, they're going to come and go, oh my God, we've discovered this, and this does this, because that's what humans do. You know, when you take it all away, we find a way to create something even more. And I think for me, so hard for fans, so hard for performers, but everybody's trying to find a way to still keep listening to music, to still keep reaching out with the music, and find a new way to keep going until we can all be in the same room again, you know.
There's like an explosion of metal. I've noticed on like Facebook and Instagram, there's an explosion of metal groups. And
yes,
actually talking more instead of just posting videos. They're actually talking to each other, which is cool.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And you know, I think that's what's been missing. You know, because generally our lives are, you know, you get up, you eat shit, shave, and well, you don't shave, and I don't need to, but you know, but you know, you go through the process all the time, and then it's the weekend, and that's your town time and whatever. And so you end up in this frenzy of normality, that your escape is maybe your music or your art or sport or whatever. But generally, you the days pass, and the same thing's going round. And what's kind of happened, I know some people have still been working, of course, and you know, frontline workers, nurses, and doctors. I mean, fuck, you know, healthcare workers. I don't know how they've done it, but amazing. But you know, for regular people, the world just stopped. It's just stopped. Yeah. And it's like, oh, you can't go to the cinema, you couldn't go for something to eat, you can't go to the bar, you can't go to a concert. It's like, oh shit, you can't do anything. You can leave the house for a bit and meet two other people or whatever. It's like, oh fuck. And so we've actually, as difficult as it's been, we've kind of rediscovered ourselves as communicative humans. And, you know, even with the politics going on, with all the politics with us, with America, whatever, even people arguing and being so, but they're actually taking notice of everything now. Whereas before, they'd probably be like, oh, I couldn't give a shit, you know. You might not even vote because you just, whatever. They're all wankers. People are going, yes, but, you know, if you look at the Second Amendment and then you look at the 10th Amendment, it does say from each state and this governor, and it's like, oh my God, now everybody's a political, you know, protests in Poland, what happened in Hong Kong, you know, people are going, hang on, I'm alive in this world, and I don't like those things, so I want to change them. And if that brings us out the other side as better people, better humans, and a bit more communicative, then okay, maybe we're going to go through this shit to go, we were taking things for two things for granted too much. And now we have we don't have those freedoms. You're going to appreciate them more. Yeah. I'll show up. Your time, Vic.
No. Sorry. No, this is great.
I'm from the north of England, and I'm Irish by descent, so I am going to talk a lot. When you need to put in, just say, "Can you just show up a minute?"
No, one thing I would this isn't even a question. It's just kind of a stupid little note, but I thought you might find this interesting. So you mentioned Bloodstock, 2018 Bloodstock. So that was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. After I'm working from home. After I get off work, a lot of times I have a stationary bike I'll ride, and I'll set up my phone and watch videos from YouTube. And I watched Venom Inc. Bloodstock 2018, and I hurt myself because I was rocking out so much to that show, because that show just was fucking on fire. You guys killed. And I overdid it. I overdid the bike ride because I was just, just, this is so fucking good, And then I stopped and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. Like, I really overdid it. It was like, it was like I was in the pit. It was great. That was that show was amazing. That show. And it seems like, and this is actually good. It dovetails. I do actually have a question. It kind of dovetails into the next question is, there is a chemistry on stage, which I would imagine is also in the studio, but especially between you and Mantas, but also with Jeremy. But you guys are so tight, and you seem to feed off of each other.
Yes, I mean, I think, because I think, Mantas being so well known as Venom, and of course Kronos and Mantas, Abaddon of course too. I wouldn't discount any of them, but whatever was happening between the Mantas Kronos thing, there was a chemistry, and it wasn't something you could put your finger on it, but they had that. But I think if you then juxtapose that and you put me and Mantas together, we're kind of like brothers. We read each other so well, but we have a chemistry. It's different, our chemistry, but it's there. We're always laughing at each other, smiling at each other, winking. It's almost like we know what's going on, and we know when to just raise the bar. We know when to be a bit more focused. We know when to hit it harder, and we know when to just relax and just have some fun with the audience. And so we have that going on. It feels comfortable. And I think playing together for so long, we just know each other's style, and it works. Our styles work together. Right. So we kind of read each other. Like, I know what he's going to do, and he knows what I'm going to do. So you don't have to focus on, like a lot of bands you'll see, they spend all the time looking at the fretboards with their heads down, and it's great, and you have these amazing performances from these amazing musicians. But I think we kind of use the old, I guess, an old blues attack, it's like, just let go, I mean, I remember a tuitional video. I think it was Petrucci or maybe Al Petrelli, and I was watching this thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna learn some amazing stuff. And I think it was Al Petrelli, and he just went, so there's loads of scales, there's loads of this. You can do Ionian and this one, and Mixolydian, and blah. And he said, the thing you should do is just pick your guitar up and play it. And I was like, oh, that's the key then, just play it. And he's right, just play it. You will find you in there somewhere. And the technical stuff you can sort out later, but it's about just making it. You're making the noise, connecting with the instrument and connecting with the music you're doing. And I think, that's what we do. We blend into our instruments and blend into each other, and it just becomes one thing. So I think that's where the tightness comes from. And Jeremy, he reads us so well. For a guy who, he reads us. He wanted the songs that he played, that were the old songs, to sound like they were Abaddon playing the songs, that they were there. Maybe not as loose, and with the new stuff, he wanted it to be exactly how we had it on the album, because he, why have it recorded like that on the album and then not play it like that live, is how he thought. And so by the time he had nailed everything, we were going on stage, and I said, now you can just be you. Now you can just be you. The songs, so just be you now. Let yourself come out. So if you add a little bit here or take a little bit away there, just be you. And so now he's become his own thing, and we rely on him and can count on him. And that's the difference, I think that was the big problem with Jeff, probably always with Venom, was they were so loud that Jeff couldn't hear Conrad couldn't hear Jeff. All right. Abaddon couldn't hear anything because he was deaf anyway, and then he couldn't hear either of them. So it became this cacophony of sound. and people thought it was on purpose, but none of it was on purpose. It was all kind of accidental as the moment. But that was the beauty of it, you know, that was the beauty of it. You know, not everything needs to be polished within an inch of its life and pristine. Some things just need to be ugly and raucous. And I think what we try and do is we try and give every single bit of ourselves on stage. So, you know, it's not just about performing the songs, it's about the meaning something. So when I sing those songs, whether I was on the albums or not, if there's songs that Jeff's written and he wants to play the songs, it has to mean something to me for it to mean something to you. So I put my own spin on it, and I put everything I am into it. So I'm not trying to be anybody else. You know, funny enough, the Bloodstock thing, just to go back to that, I saw a clip the other day. Someone was watching and I saw a clip, and Jeff was smiling, and I said, you know what, it's amazing every time I look at that, is that 11 weeks before we played that, Jeff was dead, clinically dead.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He had the heart attack and he was dead. I mean, dead. They had to bring him back to life. And I was there the next day, and he was like, fuck, you know, and he's still struggling with the idea that he knows he died and he went somewhere. And it's like, oh shit. So, you know, to see him then on stage alive, you know, is why there's some smiling at Bloodstock. We did a thing in called Porosphere, I think, in Scandinavia, and then we did Alcatraz in Belgium, and then the next day we flew straight to the UK to play Bloodstock. So we did 3 big festivals, bang, 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 and that was the first things we'd done since he had came out of hospital.
Wow. And
so watching him is like, wow. But that's the power of the music, you know, when we've had it in the past where fans have said, you know, your music saved me, or, you know, I had this marriage breakup, or I got cancer, or I had this trauma, I lost a child, and your music helped me through that. You think like, okay, that's a bit weird, you know, but I mean, music speaks to your soul, but like Venom music and or this kind of stuff. But Slayer have had the same thing, and of course I've had Metallica and stuff, you know, and you think, okay, nothing else matters. Oh yeah, I could see how that would, you know, or The Unforgiven, yeah, that could touch your soul. But you think like Hello Waits, okay, Die With Soul, that saved your life. But it's just the idea of the music, you know, like Mayhem, you know, even they have got people that, you know, I know someone very personally who that is their go-to. That is their go-to because it speaks to them, you know. And so looking at him on stage, that I was like, okay, now I get it, because I can see in him, the music has kept him alive. This is what he lives for. And it's beaming out. So yeah, amazing. But that was such a wonderful day, trilogy of days, ending at Bloodstock, which we were so proud to be there. And it was an amazing day, and I'm glad you really got off on it. And you know, they said to us they had the most streams of a band in the shortest period of time with us. I think it went to 250,000 like in a matter of days. And I was like, was that good? But I think we were so on a high ourselves that, you know, that translates. It translates. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
When you're on a phone and you have a difficult phone call to make, she said, always smile when you're talking. And then while the other person's talking, halfway through, ask them if they're smiling, and they'll say yes. And they won't know why, but it's because you're smiling. And so, you know, the more positive you are, people perceive it and don't even realize they're perceiving it. And so I guess that's what we try and do on stage too, you know.
I love it. Sorry.
How was it? No, don't be sorry.
I feel much better. I apologize.
We all have to go. Just so you know, by the way, I couldn't be asked to go to the toilet, so I just pissed myself where I was. So but at least you went to the toilet.
There you go. So let's go back in time a little bit, maybe a ways back in time. How did you get started in music? What was the inspiration for you to be a musician?
Well, you know, I grew up in the north of England, and then, you know, it was all glam rock and stuff like that. But my mum and dad used to listen to rock and roll. So for me, even though the chart stuff I was into, you know, Queen and the Sweet and Slade and stuff, that was what I was getting fed from radio. But you know, at home it was like Bill Haley and the Comets and Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons and, you know, Elvis. And so it was all rock and roll stuff, because my old man was an old rock and roller. But neither of them were singers or musicians or anything, so that wasn't kind of part of it. And then we moved to Canada in the early 70s, to Windsor, Ontario. And before we went, my sister had been bought an acoustic guitar, which I wasn't allowed to touch, you know. But I hadn't considered music at that point, but I wasn't allowed to touch it anyway. So we moved to Canada, and I got introduced to Kiss and Ted Nugent and Aerosmith, Foreigner. And so, you know, it was like, oh, wow, this is amazing, you know. And so I kind of got into Creedence and Grateful Dead, and it was like, wow, this is like great. And this was all stuff played on the radio, whereas in the UK, any rock music, you know, pop stuff you could hear on the radio, but rock music, you know, like rock musicians, it was like, well, that was something else, you know. It didn't get general radio play. We had a TV show called The Old Grey Whistle Test, and that's where you saw Judas Priest or punk or anything like that. But at the end of that time, my hair was now long. I had Kiss patch on me, and, you know, I was totally a hippie with flares and stuff. And we moved back to England, and it was about 77, 78. And punk just hit. So the Pistols and the Clash, Stiff Little Fingers, and I walked straight into it. So I came straight back, and it was like, what the fuck is going on here? And people were going, oh, what are you, some kind of fucking hippie? And I was like, what the fuck's a hippie? And they were going, you know, you're just like an old rock dude. And I was going, what's a rock dude? Because in Canada, it's like, you just listen to music, and it was mainly rock music, country and Western or rock music. And so I didn't understand what the fuck was going on. And I went to a disco, because I guess I was like 14, 15, 15 maybe. And I went to this disco, and I think it was something like the Buzzcocks came on, and all these guys just started jumping up and down, shaking their heads like pogoing. And I was like, what's happening? And someone went, they're dancing. I was like, yeah, but what's wrong with them? Look at them. And they were like, what's the pogo? I was like, what the fuck's pogo? And they were like, you just jump up and down. I was like, I thought it was insane. But we lived we'd moved into a really shit area. So it was like, you know, criminal city. And very soon my hair was cut. I was wearing army combat, and I was listening to everything from the Roots to fucking SLF, the Angelic Upstarts I absolutely just fell in love with. And the Dickies, I discovered the Dickies from America. That was it for me. I was like, oh my God. And so I just threw myself into punk. And I think that was when I decided I want to play that shit guitar that my sister never plays, because I just thought, I don't know, I just thought, well, you know, I'd go to see these bands. I went to see everybody from Ian Drury and the Blockheads, YouFoot Stranglers, you name it. If I could get in, I used to go. And I just saw these people playing this really aggressive music, everybody having a great time, and it just seemed so expressive. And I thought, it felt like I discovered my own voice. I thought, I don't have to be a good musician or a good singer. You just can express yourself. It's kind of what punk allowed you to do. But a funny story, at that particular point, I was a maniac on the Dickies, and they released a 7-inch, which was on the first album, The Incredible Shrink of Dickies, Paranoid. And I ended up going to, I think it was early 79, and we went to a house party, and I heard the song, and it was like, so I went over to the machine, a record player, for anybody who's never seen a record player. They used to have different speeds, so you could have like a 33 or a 45 or a 78. So depending on the recording, you could play different speeds. Like a single was played at 45, an album was played at 33, and then you had these 78s. And they changed the speed. So if you put an album on and you played it on 45, it would like speed up, like Alvin and the Chipmunks. And I thought someone had put it on the wrong speed. So I went across to the record player. I went, what the fuck have you done to the song? So I put it on 45. And then someone came running across and went, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, it's on the wrong speed. They went, no, it's not. And they put it back. And I was like, it fucking is, man. It's really slow. The Dickies don't sound like that. They went, who the fuck are the Dickies? And I was like, this is their song. They went, it's fucking Black Sabbath. I went, what the fuck is Black Sabbath? And that was it. That was my meeting Black Sabbath. I was like, oh my God, it isn't a Dickies song. It's Black Sabbath. And it was like, shit. I didn't realize, you know, you could do that in music. You could have the same song, and depending on the band, it could sound completely different. And then later that year, I went to see a punk band. Some friends of mine, they were like a local punk band. They were opening for another band who I thought were punk. And I went to the show, they did their show, and I went and hung out with them afterwards backstage. And they went, oh, Dolan, you should go see the other band. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And they were like, no, we heard them sound check. They're fucking off the map. And I was like, really? They went, yeah. And I said, but I think they're hippies, aren't they? And they went, yeah, they got long hair, but they're like punk. And I was like, oh, okay. They said, you love it. They're fucking mad. So I pushed myself through the club all the way down to the front of the stage. The lights went out and I heard this fucking sound, and I thought someone was driving like a Mack truck into the building. It was like, what the fuck is that? I didn't even know it was an instrument. Bang, the lights went on. It was Lemmy's bass. They were playing Motorhead, and there was Motorhead. And their hair was blowing in the wind. They had bullet belts on and leather. He had this Rickenbacker with his boots, and I was like, oh my God. And I was shell-shocked. And I came out, and that was it. I thought, I want that guitar that he had, and I want to do that. And I think the combination of the Dickies' speed and Motorhead's, you know, just sound was why I wanted to do what became, for me, speed metal. I wanted to do something really fucking loud, really ugly, and really fast. And that was it for me. After that, there was no turning back. I just thought, because even though I'd never considered it as a career, because I didn't know how you became a musician or how do you get a record deal. I had no idea. I just thought we just go to each other's houses and play songs for each other. But I knew that I had to play. That was the only thing I knew. I knew I had to play whatever else happened. And so I did, you know. When I got my first Rickenbacker, I didn't have any leads. I didn't have any extra strings. I didn't have a pick. I didn't have a strap. I brought it home in a cardboard box. My mum paid the hire purchase. But I sat down there with this thing, no amp, no nothing. And I just with my fingers, I learned every single Motorhead lick off every album that I had, which I think was up to Bomber. And so at that point, so I just learned everything. I just played it over and over and over and over again, thinking I was like going to be like Lemmy, you know. And it was only when someone had come round to visit me who had a guitar, and they sat down and went, when did you change these strings? I was like, change them for what? I want the strings. And they went, no, put new ones on. I was like, where do I get new ones from? So they like, fuck. So they took me out, got a strap and a lead and plug it into an amp. I was like, no way, this is amazing. So the whole thing was like an amazing adventure, you know. And it was a wonderful time for music as well, you know, from punk to the new wave of British heavy metal into the whole extreme thing, and you know, just a wonderful time.
Yeah, there was so much going on, man. It was pretty amazing.
That's how I became doing it.
Very cool. Who would, I mean, obviously Lemmy, big influence. Who are some of your other influences in terms of both a bass player and as a vocalist?
I think I didn't. I don't think I thought about vocals in particular. You know, I remember someone saying to me once, "Who's your favorite guitarist?" And I said, like, I don't have one. And they go, "Yeah, but I mean, you must have Richie Blackmore, Gary Moore." And I go, "Well, I don't know." And they go, "Yeah, but they're amazing." And I go, "Well, I just know the song. If I like the song." And, you know, so the solo doesn't need to be complicated. If it's good in the song, that's like, I just like the song. So I hadn't thought about the actual musicians. And I think mainly I got Lemmy, obviously, because of the rhythmic sound. I loved the rhythm of the songs. I loved how he played it. And of course, I loved the aggressive sound that he got from the Rickenbacker. But when I started to like kind of think, oh, right, so, you know, there's notation, and start to try and expand on that, because let me play it in a kind of 3-bar situation. So it was all kind of the same stuff over and over again with different notes here and there. But, you know, that's not bad. You know, B.B. King can make one note, make you cry, laugh, sing with one fucking note. It depends on how he pulls it. So that's not a bad thing. But I was like, oh, I want to, you know, I want to experiment more. I want to invest a bit more in it. And so a friend of mine who was into Genesis also was into Rush, and he said, this is the album you should listen to. And he gave me 2112. And that was it. I mean, fucking hell, when you hear Geddy Lee, it's like, what is going on there? How many fingers has he got? It's like, oh shit. So from there it was like Triumph. I tried to look for 3 pieces, you know, that were more explosive, you know, and you find Glenn Hughes, who not only can play bass like a madman, but then he opens his voice and you're going, how can you do that? So, you know, again, the whole world started to open up for me.
Yeah, Glenn Hughes, man, that guy is fucking beast. I mean,
yeah.
My brother jokes around with me all that, because I'm a huge Glenn Hughes fan, and he always he's like, I think you have a non-sexual crush on Glenn Hughes, and then he's like, actually, you know what? I don't even know if it's non-sexual. I'm like, hey, you know, whatever, man. It's Glenn Hughes.
I mean, if I remember watching that California Jam.
Oh yeah.
And about 1,000 years later, actually, I did a DVD on Black Sabbath, and all the footage is from that day, California. But it took me back. But I remember it's Purple, and they've got Cusey in there, and David Coverdale singing. It was after Gillan went, and I remember, and there's I can't remember the song, but there's a moment where, you know, Coverdale singing, and he was in his prime. I mean, he was hot shit, Coverdale, that bluesy voice, and, you know, and he was giving it. And all of a sudden, Glenn Hughes comes in to do the backing vocal and just takes it somewhere else. And you're like, oh my God, listen to the bass player. You know, it was like, just blows your mind, you know. And even with his age, I just think he's got better, you know. I think he's just got better, you know. It's like that Hughes and Thrall album. I mean, fucking hell.
That's good.
That's like the devil. It's like, what the fuck, you know? And so, yeah, I guess, you know, Jack Bruce and people like that, John Entwistle, you know, had you know, especially John, you know, their styles and stuff. I suppose I then started looking at bass players a bit more considerate and think, what do they, especially in a 3-piece, what do they contribute? You know, because if they're in a 5-piece band or something else, you're playing root notes. You know, you can. Cliff Williams does a great job in AC/DC, but you know, I don't want to spend my whole life being able to do that. The same with Ian in Judas Priest. Of course, it's a massive part of it, but it's like, for me, as someone who wants to do something, it's like, wow, playing one note for 12 hours is like pretty much, you know, with a couple of changes. So I looked at, you know, people who were being more innovative, you know, Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, you know, who was exploring that. And I mean, then you end up with Billy Sheehan, and you're like, okay.
All right.
I see what you're doing there. I'm just going to put this back in the cupboard and do ice cream making thing. That's what I do. You know, yeah. So, but I think it's one of those things that's also, you know, being around for so long, that, you know, so many new bands are coming up, you know, with the whole black metal and death metal, and, you know, with all those scenes exploding after Pantera had actually got everybody back on track and went, hang on a second, metal, and everybody went, oh, okay, shit, we forgot about that, and it was like, bang, it all exploded again. Wonderful. So you know, you meet young musicians now and you watch them and just go, fucking hell, they're like incredible. But I think that's what's wonderful. You never stop learning. You're always finding something brand new and finding another talent that's like, you know, 12 years younger and 20 years younger and comes from somewhere you've never heard of. And they're like these amazing musicians, you know, and so music is like the gift that always never stops giving in a way, you know. You have the old stuff, which is like amazing. and then you have the scene that's happening now, which is invigorated, and then you have a whole new wave of musicians trying to, you know, impress you and get on board and play. And it's like, wow, it is like being like living in a garden of fruit, being able to eat whatever you want. You know, it's like, I just find it amazing, you know, and being lucky enough to get to travel the planet when there's no plague. You know, I see them from everywhere, from Peru to Chile to sorry, I think that was my battery. From Peru to Chile to fucking, you know, everywhere. Australia, New Zealand, Tasmania, you know. I mean, Indonesia, you find them on islands, and like there's an amazing death metal band on an island in Indonesia. You're like, fucking hell. And it's like they play 2 shows every year because they can't get off the island, you know. It's like, wow. But they're still doing it because it's part of them, you know. And that's what I love about it. It's so generous and so creative, you know. So, oh yeah,
yeah, I think that's a good point. And what's cool, you know, I think really now is this music's become much more global, as you mentioned. I mean, I remember as a kid in the 80s, 70s and 80s, you know, I'd read about stuff, but in order to find it, I mean, you couldn't find anything. I mean, it was impossible, or it would cost you a fortune. I remember a buddy of mine bought a Hawkwind double album on tape, and it cost him $50 because it got shipped from England. Whoa. And this was 1989, 1986, somewhere around there. I can't remember, but now, like, you can, you know, I have a couple kids and I have a stepson who lives with my wife and I, and he's 19 and he's a musician. He plays bass, and it's cool to see what he's exploring and what he's looking at, and he has a much broader view of music than I did at that age, because I was just a metalhead. I'm a metalhead, where he's like, you know, I walk past his room and he's, you know, he plays bass, like I said, you know, sometimes he's playing Sabbath, sometimes he's playing Duran Duran. It's everything, which is cool. You know, it's cool that, and it sounds like you had a very expansive musical taste as well.
Definitely. You know, I think the moment that I was into punk rock, I was like that. Everything in the world is shit. There is only punk, you know? And that was like 2 years of my life was like, they'd go, oh, have you heard this? I go, shit. Is it punk? Yeah, shit. Sucks. You know, I was like, nah, I'm just not having it. But, you know, but pre that and after that, I guess that was my anarchistic 2 years. Yeah. But you just open up again. And I think the traveling, you know, because going to Canada and coming back, you know, I was exposed to several different music scenes within this decade, you know. So it was like, wow, this is amazing. But I think that's it, you know, when, you know, I have 2 suitcases full of tapes, cassette tapes. You know, I had an 8-track player when I was in Canada. So I played 8 tracks, you know, in the car. You know, now I have all these cassettes and I have demos because I used to trade tapes, you know, and that's how I knew Tom Warrior through trading tapes, Hellhammer stuff, Quorthorn, Battery, trading, Testament, The Legacy, you know, I had that demo, Destruction, I had their first demos, you know, Pete Green, you know, a typo, but when he was Carnivore, I traded tapes. You know, so many people that I know in the industry through tape trading. You know, the first tape I traded of Atomkraft, Total Metal demo was with a guy called Sam Kress. And you know what I traded it for? I traded it for a demo that he was pushing of a band that were his friends out of San Francisco, and it was the Metallica demo. And we traded. You know, but again, and I remember taking it home, putting it on. I was going, that shit's not going to go anywhere. It's far too fast. You know, give it now. You know, but that's how we used to get to know bands. You know, personal columns in magazines, and like you said, and tape traders, and you get their list of what they had and live stuff. I mean, I've got Sex Pistols from their 100 Club, you know, from 1978 or 79, and you know, all this live stuff, you know, and it was like, that's what we did. You went with a tape recorder, you recorded the fucking show, and then you traded it with someone. And so Killer Dwarves, everything. Anvil, that's how I got to know Anvil.
Oh, wow.
So, but like you say, I think the negative of the internet is that if you're creative, everybody and their dog gets to tell you that you're shit, and that you suck and you should fuck off and everything you like sucks and blah blah blah. You know, that's the negative, and you know, it affects you and it depresses people and it gets to them. But you've got to realize that, like, yeah, but what the person who's saying all of that, what do they do? You know, I've got a couple of trolls as well, you know, and one's just a fat German. All he does is you know, barbecue greasy food and drink beer.
Right.
It's like, well, okay, so I've got to go, like, am I going to let him dictate how my musical career goes? You know,
I have to impress you.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the downside. But you know, like, I had a guy once, we were about to tour America, and he just said he was going to shoot me. Long story short, he was going to shoot me. And so in the end, I invited him to the show. I said, you can be special guest, but don't bring a gun, because if you shoot me, I'm dead, but you go to prison. I mean, who's the winner then? Nobody. You won't be able to, you know, you'll be locked up. I'll be, you know. So I said, but come to the show, be my guest, come down the front. You can have as many beers from us as you like. And if you really think I'm that shit at the end, we'll go in the car park and last man standing. How does that sound? That way we won't call the police. Nobody will be there, just me and you. And then you can go home either broken or happy that you kicked the fuck out of me. But let's do it that way. It's much better. And then nobody really minds. Of course, he didn't come, and, you know, it was all bullshit. But that was through the internet. But what I kept saying to him was, I admire that you're so passionate, because music is passion. As much as you go, I fucking love that, you'll go, I fucking hate that. So you'll hate that as much as you love the other thing. And it's like, well, that's great. I'd rather people hated you for what you did with a passion rather than just didn't give a fuck, you know? So it's kind of a mindset you've got to get into. Is like, if someone goes, I absolutely fucking love you, you've got to accept that someone goes, I absolutely hate your fucking guts. You know, they've got the same passion for what you do, just in the negative. But if they just go, I absolutely don't care who you are, what you're doing, I'm not interested, that's when you get depressed, because you're like, bollocks, I haven't even made this person emotionally scarred. I can't even do that.
And I guess when you say, like, that reaction to that hate reaction, I mean, I never really thought about it that way, but I guess it's, I mean, like all art, music obviously is art. It's you want a reaction.
Yes,
I mean,
it's the yin to your yang. You know, love is the white. Hate is the negative of the white. So it's the same photograph. It's just in reverse. Yeah. So it's the same passion. If you can get the same level of passion, they love you, because they love to hate you. So they want to even follow you just to tell you how much they hate you. And so, you know, in a way, do they really hate you, or do they think they do? You can turn that around. You can turn that into a positive if you deal with it in the right way. So it's that level. But if you don't get that level of passion out of anybody, no love, no hate, you're in a quagmire of nothingness. Yeah. You know, so drive hard. You don't need to encourage the hate or encourage the love, but if you believe in what you do and you give everything you've got, you will elicit those type of responses. If you do, even if it's in the negative and you want it all to be positive, you know you're doing the right thing, because you're exacting someone's emotions in that way. I mean, that could be the negative side of the internet, because you're open to that expressiveness. But the positive side is exactly what you said about your steps on there. Playing bass is like, it's all the fingertips. We never had that, you know. And people used to say to me, Jeff does social media, Mantas does social media, but he doesn't like to, you know, chat to fans all the time, you know, because he's kind of shy, but he doesn't know what to say. And, you know, sometimes he feels if it's if it's just a general thing, he doesn't feel comfortable. But he would go, I can't, why, how can you do it all the time? Why can you be bothered? I said, because it's important to me, because I'm here because I love people, you know, and I like communicating with people. And if that's through my music or about my music, then that's brilliant. It shows that I'm communicating. It's something I feel I need to do. But I also do it because if fans and stuff, you know, I got a fan who he's a really nice guy. He's got a bit of autism. You know, we've talked for years. I guess he sees me as a surrogate father because he lost his father, but he sends me pictures of his shopping trolley with his shopping in and goes, look what I bought today. You know, I mean, Jeff would be like, what? But to me, it's like, I know who he is, you know, and he wants to show me how well he's doing. And I love that. I love that, you know. But I think that as a fan myself, I think if I could have woke up every morning and just typed into my Facebook Messenger, hey Lemmy, because he's online, how you doing? And he typed back, I'm good, man, have a good day. I'd think, oh my God, it's fucking Lemmy. He knows I exist, you know? And so for me as a fan, that's why I do it, because I think it's important. It's important to acknowledge if a fan writes, hey, hi, I love what you did on blah, 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 then I owe him or her that response to go, thank you so much. I acknowledge that you're acknowledging that I've affected you in the negative or in the positive, because I will have a stand-up argument with anybody on there as well. You know, people go, don't argue with them. I go, but yeah, but why not? Why not?
Yeah, if they're going to engage, why not? Yeah.
Exactly. It's all good. It's all good, friend.
I know it's really late for you, so I don't want to keep you too long, but I do have a couple more questions. So I wanted to ask you about, and this was just released recently, speaking of technology, the Total Demolition bass pedal.
Yes. Yes. Hold on. Yeah. I'm studio recording at the minute, so there it is. There it is.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah. And of course, it's made in the USA.
Nice.
It's out of Chicago. The company's amplified. A guy called Ant-Man, Anthony, and he makes them. And so this is the signature model, and we're modifying it. We're just getting it reviewed now in Bass Player magazine, and it will be mass produced next year, towards the end of next year, and we'll have a smaller unit so you can fit it into your bag, and it'll come with a switch so you can switch to bass or guitar, because I use it on both. So
nice.
But yeah, it was amazing. It was we play Chicago quite a bit. It's like a town I really, really love, and we play Reggie's in Chicago, and there's a very good friend of mine, Bob Peroni, and he's out of Chicago, and then he spoke to me about this guy who modifies amps, and the guy was like, yeah, I'd like to make like a pedal or something. So he looked through my setup of my sound, how I get my sound, and I said, if you could put all of that in one box so I could just plug in anywhere, that would be amazing. And it was the year before last, I think, maybe 2019. Yeah, maybe 2019, we did the Misfit show at the Chicago Arena with Power Trip and Mutoid Man, I think. With Power Trip anyway. And we were invited to play the Misfit show, original Misfits. And it was like this huge arena. Anyway, I went in there, and the guys came into the venue and they messaged me and said, oh, you know, we're in. And I said, look, you're never going to get backstage. Security's too big. But I'll come round and find you. And I went round, and Anthony just pulled out this black bag and went, that's yours. And I was like, what is it? And he was like, it's yours. And I opened it, and it was the pedal. And I've used it ever since on everything. And it's fucking amazing. And I love it so much. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Amplified. Good.
Where can people get a hold of that?
Well, if you go right at the minute, he's got an email. So if you're on social media, but if you go to either on Venom Inc Instagram, but if you go to Venom Inc on Facebook or Tony Dolan on Facebook, you'll see the links are all there. He's just got an email at the minute. He's out of Chicago, but each one is handmade. He makes each one as individuals. But we've just, because they become so popular, we went through A stock and now we're down to B stock. We're coming into C stock now. So we're going to modify them. He's going to make a smaller unit for next year because it's kind of big box. So we're going to modify it and put another switch in so you can flip, like I say, from use guitar or bass. And then we'll go into production. So it'll be available at outlets, like if Guitar Center stays alive, or Long and McQuaid or something like that. We'll have it through distributors. So we're just working on those parameters. But if you want to order a model now, they're getting there as quick as you can, because they're running out as fast as we talk, and there's only a limited number. But like I say, go on my social media or the Venom Inc social media, you'll find a link to it, and there's an email. Just email him to place an order and he'll get you sorted.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. And speaking of which, I think, just for fans, they should definitely check out the webpage. Check, they can get through there through social media. Venom Inc. Lots of cool merchandise.
Yeah, we got some really cool stuff. Yeah, we got some really cool stuff. I mean, Vadim Cominic, who is like our agent, works at Flaming Arts, and that's who we do live shows. But he's a very old friend of mine, and he kind of works, and he's always going, why don't we? And they came up through Rockmark, through the big cartel, Rockmark. They came up with this new line of merchandise, which is fucking blows my mind. So we got like shorts and masks and snoods and full all over shirts, and they're amazing. So yeah, check it out. Rockmark merchandise. But again, it's clearly on our Instagram, Twitter, and through Facebook. But for any fans who want to come and check stuff out, we're also at the official page is venominc.co.uk. So that's like the official website. We kind of relaunched the website. We did have an old one at venominc.com, but it's now venominc.co.uk. But yeah, and if you're not sure, if you go looking and you think, I can't fucking find this, because it can be confusing with the whole Venom is whatever, just find me on a social media platform, write a message, and I'll get you sorted and link you up to wherever you need to go or whatever you're looking for. So don't worry about that.
Nice. Very cool. So one last question for you. This is what I ask everybody. So as you probably know, what's that?
Size 9. Is that what you're going to ask? Size 9.
So my blog, my page, I pair beer and heavy metal music. So Demolition Man is kicking back, hanging out at home. What album do you put on, and what beer do you crack open?
Well, yeah, I'll show you the beer I normally drink.
All right.
That's my go-to beer.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't really drink beer so much anymore. But I guess I used to like a Molson Canadian. I'm sure there's a lot of people going, that beer shit and whatever. But I used to like a Molson Canadian in the summer, lounging around in Canada. But album, a go-to album for me is, probably always going to be Ace of Spades. I mean, I will put Rain and Blood on, and it's 28 minutes of pure, absolute pleasure, because it's the most perfect piece of everything that goes on there. But for me, whenever I put Motorhead on, I feel emotional. I feel an emotional connection. As I'm sure people, distinguish when you put that album on that just seemed to have changed you, you feel that connection. And so, I remember when Ace of Spades came out, and there's a funny story I'll tell you just before we go, so Ace of Spades comes out, right? It's 1980, right? Ace of Spades is coming out. Fucking massive Motorhead fan. Oh my God, the new album Ace of Spades, they look like cowboys. I'm like, every fantasy a boy could have. It's like, wow, fucking hell, Lemmy, Rickenbacker, they look like cowboys. The new album. And so that's all I talk about it all year. And I get up on Christmas morning, I come down, there's the tree, I there's one vinyl album under the tree wrapped up. And I'm like, oh my God, that's it. It's like fucking hell. It's the holy grail. So I open everything else and I leave it. And then my mum goes, do you not want to open your last present? And I go, yeah, maybe. And I'm like busting myself. I'm fucking, oh God. And I pull open the sleeve. Guess what it is? Status Quo rocking all over the world.
Oh no.
And I look at it, I'm like, and my mum goes, you like all that kind of rock stuff, don't you? And I was like, fuck. She is lucky she didn't die on that day, because if I had something in my hand, I'd have shot her. It was like, fucking Status Quo. It's like, how many times do I have to say Motorhead Ace of Spades? I fucking spoke about it every day for a year, and she buys me Status Quo rock and roll. I've never been so disappointed in my life. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's my go-to. If I'll have this, I was going to say about the Bloodstock thing and the Jack Daniels. We were on tour, you know, because someone wrote not so long ago, I think a couple of years ago, after we'd done the Bloodstock thing, oh, look at him, you know, singing Kronos songs and trying to be like Lemmy. And I was like, what? And I thought, well, obviously I'm singing Venom songs because Jeff wrote them. So he wants to play them. I'm going to sing them. And I thought, okay, like Lemmy. Oh, because of the mic. And it's another one of those things that, you know, sometimes you can't then go on the internet and go talk to that individual, go, this is what actually happened. Don't prejudge me. But basically we were touring in America, and Lemmy died. And someone came and said, John, Lemmy just died. And I was like, no way. And I was like, fuck. And of course, everybody knew he was going to go. But I was like, ah. And John Gallagher was at a show, and Ryan Waste from Municipal Waste. And I invited them on stage and said, let's play Motorhead. So we did that. And it was amazing, you know. To be able to do that. But before I went on, I said to the tech we had, I said, can you just push my mic stand up 3 inches, point it down, and then can I get a Jack and Coke? And I'd never drank Jack and Coke. You know, Abaddon was the Jack drinker, but I just thought I'm going to have one. And then I decided that's what I was going to do every night, because I didn't want to lose Lemmy, and I still don't. So I kind of do it now just to keep connected to him. So if I'm just kicking back, it's that and Ace of Spades, and that's me. That's me all over. That is a bucket of Kleenex, you know, because I'll probably shed a tear or two, you know, and wish again. But yeah,
that's fucking perfect. That's perfect. That's fantastic.
But before we go, I gotta say, Vic, what's yours?
Ooh, that's tough.
You
do this all the time, so. Well, I can tell you what I'm doing tonight. I haven't written it or posted it yet, but tonight I'm doing there's a brand new local brewery in town called Ogden River Brewing. They just opened recently. Here's the
oh wow, oh cool.
And so I'm drinking a Demanding Blonde. Is the name of the beer.
Demanding Blonde, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
yeah.
So I'm pairing that with the new Death Dealer album.
Oh yeah, okay.
Conquered Lands, Sean Peck.
Yeah.
I just got that in the mail and vinyl, so I'm excited to. You know, I haven't even listened to the whole thing yet, but I've started listening to it, and so that's tonight's pairing. But as far as like an ultimate pairing, shit, I don't know. Yeah, nobody's ever put me on the spot like this. I always put people on the spot. Yeah, that's tough. I guess it kind of depends on my mood, I guess, but. I'm an IPA guy.
Okay.
But I'm a huge Iron Maiden fan. So I love the Trooper beers too.
There you go.
You know, it's always fun to kick back and drink one of those, and like listen to like, you know, Number of the Beast. You know, early stuff.
A Trooper beer is perfect. I think that's a great combination. That's a perfect combination.
Yeah, so you know, any of that stuff, and I don't know, you know, an old school thrash and death metal, and I mean, yeah, last weekend, yeah, I was drinking bourbon. I was drinking some bourbon and listening to Possessed. And,
there you go. I
had a rough morning, but it was worth it. It was worth it.
Yeah.
And it wrecked my neck. Yeah. Too old to be thrashing like I was, but that's okay. Life is short. Pandemic, right? It's a pandemic. You gotta get
exactly. If you can't injure yourself with a show, you should be allowed to injure yourself at home, shouldn't you? Really?
Yeah. And I've got where I'm sitting right now. I have a studio, art studio, and that's where all my music is. And I have a beer refrigerator down here, and I have a lot of space that I can move around. So yeah, I can throw back a few and slam on the albums, and and get a little nuts.
Just let go. It's one of those things that I used to look after my younger sister when my mom would go to work, so my younger sister is like 10 years younger, and so I would babysit her, and then when I put her to bed, then it would just be me in the living room, and what I'd do, I'd open the curtain, turn all the lights off, open the curtains, I'd get something that would mimic an instrument, and then I'd put No Sleep to Hammersmith on, and I'd pretend I was playing the whole show, to this street where cars would be going by, people would be walking by. I had no idea what was going on, but to me it was like they were my audience, and the lights were out, and it was amazing. And you need that release, you need that your man cave, or your just you time. Women need it, but guys need it too, and through music you can just let go, have some brews skis, and exactly like your show's called, and just let go.
Too, especially some of my coworkers that are not metalheads, and they don't get it, and they don't understand, they just see it as really angry music. I'm like, no, there's so much joy.
Yeah.
The release. It's like if you go, so my wife and I, for our honeymoon, we went on the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, 2019.
Ah, brilliant.
And she's not a huge metalhead. She's a big Sepultura fan, and she likes some metal, but she's it's not her thing necessarily. But but that was one of the things she said multiple times. Like, God, these metalheads are so fucking nice.
Nice.
They're so nice. Everybody's so friendly, and like it's like a tribe. I'm like, it's cool. It's really cool.
Because of my band and associations with Venom in particular, but with the whole scene and the subject matter is, there are lots of places we went in the world, they have issues with that kind of stuff, and I think now we're a bit more rock and roll than we are extreme. When you see what's extreme now, we're kind of just a rock and roll band who sing about the devil. But one of the things that I always had on that political front, and I've been on some boards where we've had to argue about this on behalf of the scenes and musicians, and it's like, that when we can stand on a show and I can play and sing In League with Satan, I am the master's own, I drink the juice of women as they lie alone, and I look out and people are smiling, singing it back at the top of their voices, and at the end of the show they come to get autographs and they're all happy and drunk and smiling and looking after each other. It's like, right, that's what we are. It's like when you say, but that's evil and it's teaching them the wrong things. It's like, it's not. It teaches them about community. It teaches them about oneness. And like I used to say on stage, is wherever we went, I would say, as a young person, you're in the audience, where you live in your village or your isolated place, you feel there's just you're the only goth in the town, or you're the only death metal in the town, and you listen to Obituary or Possessed or whatever, and people do not get you, or you like to put your face paint on and listen to Immortal, and people think you're a weirdo. And I said, and you start to think there's something wrong with you. I said, but go online and find your people. And when you go to a Vakin and there's like 300,000 people, 500,000 people there, you realize that they all feel the same as you. Yeah. And you're not. We're all just separated by distance, but we're not alone. So I said, if you need to reach out, go to your people, because they're online and they feel the same as you, and that's your community. And I think people talk about rock and metal as being the most loyal music, which is why you get those extreme reactions. But it is. You know, do you like Mariah Carey? Yeah, she did a couple of good songs. What about George Michael? Yeah, that older album was fucking good. What about the Police? Yeah, they had a couple of cool tunes on them. You know, from Bruce Hornsby and the Reds to Dolly Parton, Willie Nelson, you can find some stuff that you kind of dig. Elvis. But metal, I fucking love Sepultura. They suck. I fucking love Pile Driver. They suck. I fucking love Rammstein. They're shit. You know, it's like, you know, you never get a Metallica fan going, yeah, they're okay. I could take them or leave them. You're either going Metallica for life or fuck Metallica. They sold that. You know, and it's like, wow. No, the music has that amount of passion in it, and that's what makes it so exciting. You know, and not just the fans' expressiveness, but from the musicians themselves. They never give you half quarter when they make an album. They put everything they've got into it. So even if it's not as good as the last album, you know that they're giving everything they've got, and you know, that's the beauty of it, and that's what I love about being in it. And so it is about community. It's about oneness. You know, brothers and sisters across the planet, just on music and our passion. It's wonderful.
Well said. That's very cool. I think that's a great closing. So I want to thank you so much for meeting with me. This was a pleasure. This was fascinating, really interesting, and I really enjoyed talking with you. So thank you so much for chatting with me this evening.
That was awesome. It was a pleasure for me. Thank you so much for asking me. It was great fun. I talk a bit too much, but I give my best to you and your wife, and your please tell your stepson, you know, if he wants to come and say hi on, I'll know who he is. He just has to say who you are. And yeah, we can talk bass if he wants, and I can point him in some right directions and some cool stuff as well. So, but thank you. Thank your family. Be safe, be well. Thank all of your listeners and fans, and keep supporting Victor and his blog. And we shall see you out there. 2021. Let's hope. Just be safe.
Yes. Very cool. Thank you, sir.